Brain fog is just simply brain inflammation. So, when there's inflammation in the brain, it slows down the conductivity or the communication between the neurons. And so then the brain tires more easily.
What is causing brain inflammation?
I always look at five things: foods, bugs. And when I say bugs, I mean bacterial infections, viruses, parasites, toxins, stress, and hormones, which is why we test, right? Because you could have five different people coming in with the same symptom. You could find five different causes.
What types of bugs, as a general rule, you don't have to dig into the minutia, but what types of real bugs are causing brain inflammation and where are these bugs?
Anything that affects the gut, for the most part, is going to affect the brain. So I'm sure that you've heard of, a lot of people have heard of the gut brain connection. So there's a couple of different reasons for that. It's because that the vagus nerve connects the brain to the gut, and the gut actually has a second brain. It has 50 million neurons, and there's actually more impulses that are sent from the gut to the brain. And the proteins that are in the gut that can be broken down during leaky gut are the same ones that can be broken down in the brain and cause a leaky brain as well. So any bacterial infections in the gut, any viruses, any of that can affect the brain as well.
What toxins are going to create inflammation in the brain, potentially leading to brain fog?
Yeah, well, there's been a lot of studies on BPA. So BPA is certainly one of them. But there's a number of different environmental chemicals. I mean, anything can affect the brain because the toxins like to get deposited in fat, and the brain's all fat. So it's another reason why, if somebody does have exposure to toxins, you have to be really careful how you're removing those, especially if somebody has a compromised blood-brain barrier, because you can remove the toxins from one part of the body and they can redistribute in the brain.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yep. So what is, first off, where's BPA found?
Plastics. No, I mean, and plastics are everywhere. If you think about it, I mean, everything you pick up at the grocery store is probably wrapped in plastic. So, and then you absolutely want to avoid heating up any Tupperware in the microwave. And the reason why is because the heat will release it. So having plastic bottles and leaving them in the sun and then drinking out of the water bottles is really going to, up your BPA level.
What
Mhm.
about other types of toxins like mold?
Mold is absolutely a big one. Yeah, I mean, it's a neurotoxin. And a lot of times when we see people that have mold exposure, they will present with neurological symptoms. They have brain fog, they can't think well, they're coming down with headaches. Yeah, mold is a huge one, and it really gets overlooked quite a bit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's a pretty silent killer in a lot of ways. It definitely dysregulates everything, the immune system. As you know, it dysregulates dopamine, serotonin, all your neurotransmitters. You can't even get out of bed when there's a lot of mold exposure. What about heavy metal exposure?
Again, the brain's all fat, so they want to get deposited in the brain. And, any of those toxins is going to cause a lot of inflammation, and it can break down the blood-brain barrier, and you're going to get brain fog. You're going to get all those symptoms that we just talked about.
So are there any safe ways to detoxify, or what do you mean when you say we need to be careful how we detoxify?
Right, just like you said. So we do need to make sure that those detoxification pathways are open. So we want to make sure that we're supporting the liver, make sure that they're getting enough of B vitamins. You want to make sure that the kidneys and the bile and everything is working properly so that they can flush them out. But when you talk about removing heavy metals, because the parasites will feed on the heavy metals. So if you start to pull out the heavy metals before the parasites, you could feed the parasites, and that can aggravate a lot of things too. So I know there were doctors in the past that were doing chelation, and I think that as of recent, they found out that it can be dangerous in some cases because they're pulling the metals out of the body too quickly. And if these people have compromised blood-brain barriers, then they're actually making them worse instead of better. So we need to go really slowly, make sure that we support those pathways, and then using things like glutathione and some really great binders to help slowly pull them out.